Hey everyone, welcome to SolSeed podcast. Very honored and excited to have Adam Donatelli with us today. He has created an amazing documentary that I got to watch recently. We had a screening of the film at SolSeed, and the whole community came out. It was a beautiful evening, an amazing event. So join us. I'm Winnie, and here's Adam.
Hello.
Hey, Adam.
Hi, Winnie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
I'm super excited to share with you today. And I thought we might just jump right into what came across in such a beautiful way in your film is sort of seeing spirituality through a technological lens. Can you talk to us about that a little more, what that feels like for you and how that came about?
Yeah, I would say, you see it, you've been in this space for quite a while, right? You've been in this spiritual path and amongst individuals who are, working within this space. And so one can see perhaps the technological layers, like you said, in this documentary. And there's a lot that's going to go over their head because there are different teachings, for example, chakras, that people are very unfamiliar with. But if you understand this from a technological point of view, a lot of these layers make more sense, right? The structure of a spiritual path. And that's kind of what the documentary is about, is outlining the layers of the spiritual journey and showcasing that this is a process that a lot of the spiritual communities around the world, indigenous and spiritual paths, recognize, and there's a pattern. And the reason why there's a pattern is because it's it's technology, right? And, we have technology today that, like with any technology, for example, okay, we create a tool in order to help us achieve something, improve on something. For example, if you look at a vehicle, at one point we didn't have a vehicle, right? But we need something to increase our capacity to move from one location to the next because it's going to have extra benefits and be easier, not only just like on the body, but we're going to be able to produce more by getting to one place to the next. And so we see a challenge and then we come up with a solution, right? And much of the technology that we're creating comes from our understanding of when we look at nature, right? Everything I would argue that we have in technology is already existing in nature.
Yes.
Right? For example, the phone is an extension of our voice. We're trying to carry our voice, not just from right here, from me to you, but have the capacity to be able to speak to someone at long distances, right? That technology of the voice is already built into the human system.
Yeah.
It's built into animals. It's built into, nature. Mm-hmm. And so is, for example, the camera of the phone. That's just a replica, an expansion of the eye.
Yes.
Right. And so technology is so much further ahead of us that it has already started that technology, created those capacities, and it's way beyond what we're able to do.
The technology of nature, of the universe, basically, is so far beyond us.
Yeah. And so why do I bring this up about technology? Is because it helps to understand spirituality on multiple layers. to come back to technology, like spirituality, what it's digging into is beyond the physical dimension. It's looking at the mind dimension and the energy dimension, right? Those are layers beyond what we are able to see, right? That are existing, right? Right now, we're just beginning to create technology that is replicating that layer, the mental layer, and the mental layer specifically, which is computers, the internet, that kind of system. We think we're so smart that we came up with this invention of the internet, of computers, to hold a large capacity of memory and intelligence. But this is already existing. And that technology is mirroring the human mind, right? I guess going back to the phone, for example. Our phone, just one device, is smart to an extent. You can load the software on it, right? The little apps and stuff. But what makes it powerful is when it's connected to the internet.
Yeah.
Right? You're able to pull information from a much broader spectrum of computer systems and technology where there's a layer of memory and intelligence that is feeding into that one unit. Okay? The mind, the self, is the same way. Right? We are all actually connected on many layers of intelligence. And spirituality, part of it is being able to connect to that higher intelligence of information, the internet, right? So when you understand that that is a resource that is available to you as an individual, you're not just a phone, but you're actually connected to a higher intelligence. And there's mechanisms, there's ways to connect to the internet, right? And those are spiritual practices for us. Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful, Adam. What a amazing analogy. And it makes me think of the word religion, which comes from religare, which means to reunite. So the individual unit to reunite with the great above all. So in the case of spirituality, religion, the individual divinity that we have within us, reconnecting with the great divinity. So it's exactly as you say, it's technology imitating what we want to have religion doing for us, what we want the spiritual path to do for us.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of religion has lost its way and really guiding people in this beautiful way, but it just shows that somewhere in us, we still remember it because we're imitating it through the phone and the great internet. So that's a precious vision. And so when we connect in, well, your film shows many different ways, many different technologies, many different paths, many different aspects of what it is to connect in to the higher intelligence. Can you talk to us more about what that looks like and what you discovered as you were wandering the planet with how people connect in?
Yeah. There are like obviously multiple ways of like connecting in, but it's like why would you connect, right? What is the purpose of looking into spirituality in your own life, right? It has multiple purposes, but I want to go back to kind of like the analogy of the phone, for example. If we're looking at that, it's like you can ask the same question, why would you want to connect to the internet? If you're a phone, an individual unit, like why? What's the benefit? You're kind of like asking, what is the benefit of connecting to the internet?
I see a lot of benefits. Do you want me to answer that, or it's
Yeah, go ahead.
hypothetical?
What does it bring?
Well, expansion, connection, understanding, more intelligence, even a sense of belonging, maybe from that safety or security. So much, yeah.
Yeah. Because we've had an expansion, an extra tool, an extra layer onto our mental layer,
Yeah.
we're becoming so much more aware of what's happening in the world. We're becoming smarter, actually, and more intelligent. We're understanding our government in a deeper way.
Ooh, okay.
We're pulling back a veil
Yeah.
and being able to understand a lot of the manipulation that's going on,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Connecting to the internet has given us the capacity to, at our fingertips, learn from people from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
It's enhanced our life so much. It's caused, some negativity, like you can say, but the expansion and capacity and what we're able to do now as a collective, as a unified collection, has completely shifted,
Yeah.
right? And that's what spirituality is. Spirituality is connecting into another level of technology, a higher piece of information that's going to guide us
Yeah.
into understanding more deeply about ourselves as an individual, right? Why am I having this suffering in my life? What's the solution, right? And that's, I think, what a lot of people are struggling with in their own life is they're looking at themselves on an individual layer, right? On the individual layer, what is difficult for us a lot of times comes from experiences that we've had, right? We're asking ourselves, like, why am I in this career, right? This relationship is so bad in my life. Like, how do I fix this?
Why did I do this?
Why am I behaving in this kind of way,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
The spiritual journey is to help that process, right? It's also there to help and give us guidance in understanding what it is we're supposed to be doing actually with our life on an individual level, right? For me, for example, I was a software engineer before going into film. And I understood instinctively that something, like I wasn't hitting my capacity and questioning, like, is this what my life is supposed to be? Even though it's nice, I mean, I'm making money and this kind of stuff, but something feels off, right? And a lot of people struggle with that. And my instinct was like everybody else's, is like, how do I improve my life? And the way the world is designed right now, it tells you need to make more money, right?
Yes.
You need maybe a relationship in your life, right? Better car, this kind of thing. And that model, it only gets us so far, but it doesn't resolve the like inner conflicts that we're having, right? And for me, it was reaching into the space, the technology of spirituality that gave me that guidance.
Beautiful. So you spoke about layers. So would you say you kind of something happened to where you came to the first layer of realizing that there was more to what could be than what you were experiencing? And just, I'm curious, when you say the layers of technology, what does that look like for you, and how has that shown up in your own personal journey?
Yeah. So I think like the driving forces for me, were so people can go into spirituality from two paths, right? There's one which is someone introduces spirituality to you. Maybe you have someone in your family. Maybe it's like a group of friends. They're into spirituality. And then you're just like kind of going with it. And it's interesting to you. And you see like benefits coming from it. Okay, so it's like one path is a natural curiosity. Another path of moving into, a spiritual direction that people may face is trauma, right? Like somebody died in their life, right? Or they're having difficulties in a relationship, right? Trauma moves us into a mental state where we're asking, like, God, I need help.
And we say God.
Yeah, we actually say God.
Because we know nothing
here is giving us the answer. Right? So we move into this path. So the next question is like, how do we begin to connect to this? Like, what do we do in order to begin that process? And then, like,
because you can have the trauma that happened that is leading to, I need to do something different in my life. God, what is this? And then, so where is that first step? Where was that first step for you?
Yeah. So I discovered it by accident, right? But let's look at technology just to give an analogy of connecting to like another layer of intelligence, okay? For example, if we're trying to do Bluetooth right now, right? It's not a very strong connection, not like the internet. It's a low level technology. But if I have like a speaker in this room, right? It's here and it's providing the information, the music, the sound, maybe the tutorial or whatever. But I'm in the like room, several rooms back. You're not going to get a good connection.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any connection. If you come a little bit closer, then you're going to start to hear that like fading in and out of the audio. Okay. So there is a process to connecting, which is eliminating the disturbance that sits between you and that connection. And eliminating that disturbance is turning off the mind in many ways.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's one mechanism. And how you do that comes a little bit later. But the first step is to begin to look at your own suffering. And that just doesn't make so much sense, right? Like how does that bring you closer and stronger connection? Don't ask me how. But when you listen to the documentary, you'll see that consistently in all the paths, they talk about the healing journey, right? The importance of the healing journey, right? One of the wisdom keepers explained it like this. If you have a cup of dirty water and you're trying to see through it, right? What do you have to do to gain clarity? You have to get the dirt out, right? So you're pouring clean water into this cup. And as you keep pouring clean water, the bad water starts to come out eventually, and eventually it purifies, right? Looking at the wounds and the self and the traumas and these kinds of things is the same way.
Our own self-purification.
Right.
Which is basically the foundation of every spiritual path they talk about, right? Is it starts there. So would you say that's the first layer, is looking at oneself and what within myself, for example, is causing me suffering? And then where do we go from there?
That, I would say, is the first part of the journey.
Yeah.
First, finding a path, a direction, whether that's through Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, some kind of ancient knowledge that gives wisdom into this process. Okay, but they're gonna lead you into that first stage of self-healing. And this process, like much of who we are as an individual, as an adult, is a result of the traumas that we've accumulated in our life. And we're in these situations, like a bad relationship or a bad job, often because of things that have happened in the past, right?
For sure.
Let's say, for example, we think we chose this career, a specific career, because we have an interest in it. I mean, maybe there's an interest in stuff, like say to be a police officer. Okay. There are experiences often that drive us into these different directions, say like being a police force. Let's say it's an individual had an experience of being bullied as a child, right? And they've experienced this kind of impact so profoundly in their life where, they felt belittled. They experienced, being put in the corner in a very harsh way, these kinds of things. They experienced maybe bullying. Let's say that this is like a trigger. Well, this individual can eventually, as they grow up and they're looking at their lives and thinking about like, oh, what do I want to be? Who do I want to become? Or whatever. What's a good career path? There are layers beneath the consciousness, the more conscious layer, that are driving us and influencing us. And a lot of it is coming from traumas, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the subconscious, basically, that's driving us.
Mm-hmm. And so the healing process allows us to look more deeply. We're taking time, whether it's through meditation, through prayer, different practices, to peel back these layers. And this is something that like people don't realize that we have the capacity to do. In our medical system, we're just prescribing these drugs that are covering up symptoms, right? But we have the capacity to sit and analyze and go really deep inside and understand more clearly what it is that's driving our behaviors. A lot of the behaviors that that are causing suffering within our own life. Okay. And this is the part that is difficult to wrap your mind around, but when you do this, there's a certain level of expansion that happens. You begin to understand like the concept of love far deeper than you had ever experienced.
When you are looking at your own traumas
Yeah.
and working to understand them and move past them, that brings in the love. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, you have a greater capacity for love, right? And this energy of love is something that allows balance in your own life. When you have the capacity to bring balance within your own life, you have capacity to bring balance into your environment.
Yes.
In your relationships, and making more clear decisions on what direction to go in life, right? It clears the fog. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, really kind of thinking, now that you've brought it up in this beautiful way, there's kind of not a difference between the healing path and the spiritual path. I mean, They're kind of almost the same thing. Maybe there's more, you step onto a healing path and it moves you a little bit more into the spiritual path. But I feel like, yeah, you can't do one without the other, really. Do you think?
Yeah, it's the healing process is one component within the spiritual journey.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you don't even have to say, like if you're going through some kind of healing process, you don't even have to say I'm doing any kind of religion or I'm doing like spiritual work. What's just going to naturally happen in this healing journey is you're going to start getting a clearer connection to something bigger than you. And that's when you're saying, oh, there's something beyond me that is more intelligent that is there, right? It's going to naturally happen. And when you start to connect with this, like, have that clarity, you're then like becoming connected to that speaker, for example, or plugging into the internet. You may start to have certain dreams. You might see certain synchronicities in your life that are giving you guidance. And without that clarity, you cannot see the guidance that's being put in front of you.
So you're speaking to the clarity of you have that muddy glass of water and you're purifying. Mm-hmm. So as we are healing, thus working with our traumas, diving into them, kind of, as you said, diving into the below the surface, what comes from that is a deeper connection that comes through the dreams and the synchronicities and these beautiful things. Mm-hmm. So yourself, when you talk about, for example, the career you chose, so software developer, do you see a correlation to what happened in your childhood and early life to lead you into that career path?
Yeah, that's, absolutely. And it's like an example of what I'll share is like an example of the clarity, right? So when I was young, I had difficulties in school, right? I had gone through traumas within my own environment, my own family environment that caused me to be like aggressive, right? I was also like very hyperactive, like a lot of kids. They're just like don't want to get engaged with school. Math was very difficult for me. Spelling, just academics in general, right? So the combination of what was happening in my house and my difficulties of learning resulted in them putting me in like educational programs that were like for special kids, right? And is because I was like going through things in my own home that and didn't have that kind of guidance that I needed, right? And so I went through a period of elementary school, being in these programs where you're basically being categorized as being like learning difficulties child, right? But as I got older, I became to surround myself with intelligent friends, right? And that really inspired me to want to be intelligent, right? But because I was under this environment where I was always told that you have learning difficulties, like I wanted to prove people wrong. I wanted to grow my capacity and have that identity of being very intelligent. Okay. So for one child, they can kind of go a different direction. They can say, take that experience and they just convince themselves that they have a learning difficulty, and they're like, I'm going to go do an easy job in my life, right? Because I have a small capacity. That trauma defined the capacity of where I can and cannot go, right? So I personally chose to go the route where I wanted to prove people wrong, right? And so I like maximized my time to just becoming smart and dedicated so much time to figuring out how to learn. And I became to love that experience, but I took it to a level where it was just like extreme, right? Because it's coming from trauma.
Yeah.
There's like extreme behavior that's coming out on the other end.
Yeah.
Luckily, I chose that path because that's good to be extreme in learning.
Totally.
Right?
And especially as you say, teach myself how to learn.
Yeah.
How precious, you know? Yeah.
And so I taught myself how to be a software engineer, you know, just building software for the military.
Did you go to school?
No.
Self-taught.
Yeah, self-taught. I got a degree in psychology, but yeah, again, like being in the system, you're looking at, I was like, okay, where's the capacity for good like income, right? And you know, in today's world, obviously, technology, being a computer programmer is a good route.
Yeah.
But because I had been driven in my early 20s to be smart, I had that capacity to teach myself what I needed to in order to like fall into this. And same thing with film. I'm not a film producer. I haven't been doing this my entire life. It's been in the past 2 years since I've been 2 years since I've been on this journey. I've done like short videos in the past, but nothing at this capacity. And yeah, it's like I had to reflect on my life and in my own healing journey and recognize that, like where that is coming from.
Well, it's also part of your healing journey, right? I mean, you getting labeled as learning difficulty or whatever, and then part of you moving past that to prove to yourself that that's not a label that suits you, that it was given to you. You're not going to take that on. And then, so then you pick your career according to that. But that, even just picking that career, it feels like part of your spiritual path or your healing path. And then to get to the next layer, as you say, how beautiful.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the choosing of a career was the healing path.
Okay.
It's like a response mechanism to the trauma.
Yeah. Okay.
That like I didn't make that connection. Let's say I'm somebody else who went a different route. And I went down a route where I convinced myself that I did have a learning difficulty and then defined my life
by that,
based off of that. Okay. So I got lucky. I'm like kind of designed in that way to go this route. Some other individual may not be so lucky.
Yeah.
But they have to, in the healing journey, they're going to stop and they're going to look at their situation and you say, why am I in this space right now? Why did I choose this career? I'm like not happy. It's taking the time to go back and find that connection. It's like, oh, it's because I was always told as a child that I have this limited capacity. I didn't realize that was influencing my career choice. Mm-hmm. And once you just become aware of that, it's mind shifting.
So basically bringing consciousness to your decisions.
Yeah.
And looking at what you've chosen and what you've done from a different lens than what the lens was that was driving it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's when for you, that's when the healing journey begins.
Yeah.
Is turning the light or turning the scope inside. Oh, what's going on in there? Why did I make this choice? What made me move in this direction? Whereas you're saying it wasn't really a healing part of the healing journey by you choosing that because it wasn't conscious. It wasn't like,
Right.
yeah, beautiful.
You're not aware.
Yeah.
And beyond the healing journey, as we go through these layers of our own difficulties, we become to see things more clear, right? And a new experience begins to emerge, because let's take that individual, for example, is like they now start to realize, oh, okay, so I actually do have capacity, and I'm going to stop listening to that part of myself and look at what's possible in my life. Well, then what? Right?
Then what?
You're kind of like in this state of like, now what do I do with my life? Right? That's when you're hooking into the internet.
Nice.
With the clarity of going through these layers, peeling them back, and having a clear view, you're starting to develop like a connection with yourself in a different way. You're expanding your intuition, right? You're like, oh, I feel now that there's another kind of way of feeling and thinking, and that's more like with my soul, with my heart, and we feel it in the heart, right? And this is when things can become more challenging, because we need to start looking for guidance, like beyond what our mind keeps telling us, because we're instinctively and like molded in this way from society to think with the mind. Your ego, what do I want? Right? Who do I want to become, and these kinds of things. But that layer of looking at the world is what fogs things back up. You have to begin to trust that there's something else guiding you, right? And that things are going to come into your path that are going to put you in the direction that you actually need to go, right? And this is difficult because it requires a certain type of like faith. Like for me, for example, I let go of being a software engineer. Like sounds like a pretty dumb move, right? Like you worked so hard to become a software engineer, and you can basically just go from here to retirement and be set. You have your finances, have everything, right? But I knew instinctively after clearing the fog, that I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to be on this path. I have to let go. And what intuition was telling me was to go film.
So really you have to remove the fog to be able to hear your intuition.
Yeah.
Because it's there always, right?
Yeah.
What would you say in your terms, what is intuition? I have a sense it's like heart-based. It's sort of an inner faculty that we have. What's your sense of intuition when you use that word?
Yeah. Intuition is, I think, the voice of the spirit.
Beautiful.
Right?
Okay.
Like there are layers within our reality that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
Like we trust, for example, that there's a connection of information between a Bluetooth speaker and say my phone, right? It's invisible. We cannot see it.
Yeah.
But we know that technology is actually working that way. It's like transferring information, and there's this layer of intelligence that is moving, and you cannot see it. There are layers of our own existence that we cannot see. We are convinced that we are the physical body, but we are not the physical body. We're the spirit. And the spirit, the intuition, that voice, is what lives beyond the physical and is able to connect to this higher form of intelligence. The same intelligence that created the trees, the water, these birds, the bees. The intelligence that goes into creating that kind of a system is so immense. And we are connected to that in an incredible way that we are not even aware of.
And to access that connection is the purification, is the removing the fog, is developing the capacity to actually hear the voice of the Spirit as sort of an entry layer into the spiritual path, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And so you started having these intuitive hits and synchronicities come your way, which probably might have always been there, but you just didn't have the capacity to hear it.
Oh, exactly.
So how did you start developing the capacity to hear it? For everybody out there that is, I know all of us have these small moments where we're like, oh, my intuition says this. And often we ignore it. And then it's like, oh, I should have listened to my intuition. How did you make that shift to where you were able to hear it and actually honor its guidance and listen to it?
Yeah. So my path was Buddhism.
Okay.
Meditation. And there are practices within all spiritual paths that help us in that journey, right? And it is like with meditation, it's like a consistent practice that you have to develop like a muscle. It's like going to the gym. If I go to the gym once a week, you're not going to get great results. Right? But if you apply yourself and take that mission serious, and you're doing it consistently, well, you're developing a muscle now, right? You're sitting and you're going in and you're spending time, and over time and staying consistent, you're opening your capacity to connect. Yeah.
Connect with your inner voice, your intuition.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And so would you say that you're moving towards Buddhism to give you these practices was something that developed easily outside once you cleared the fog, removed the mud in the glass a little bit, started having these recognitions of this inside voice, and then that led you to Buddhism? Or was Buddhism, I'm curious what these offerings are about? Or
Yeah, just before I jump into that, there's like I said, multiple paths.
Yeah.
A lot of people can't sit and meditate, right? It's difficult. Another approach, like in the Incas, for example, is outdoor hiking for long distances, right? Being out in nature and giving yourself time away from the noise and these kinds of things to kind of just be on a journey and come to yourself. Okay. So little techniques, methods like that. Breath work, for example, is such a powerful tool to, if you have a good breathwork session, like for example, Divine Breath, she's an amazing breathwork teacher. You can find her like at divinebreath.com. And within one session, you are like, something happens that I can't believe it's not in our science books, right? That they're talking that they say, if you breathe in these patterns, you're gonna start to experience traumas. Traumas are gonna start to come out.
They just bubble up with the breath.
We don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
But that's a tool that people can start to utilize to become quickly aware of the fact that there's stuff happening within your layers, right? But back to your question of like about finding Buddhism and like why, like using those tools. Like when I was young in high school, I became interested in psychology. Right, Carl Jung. That was like the first, like literally, that was the first book I picked up, and just read like in depth. Right.
Which one?
I was Carl Jung, The Deportable Jung.
Okay.
Right. And I was just so obsessed with it. And then that introduced me to Buddhism. And then I picked up a book by Timothy Leary. He made his own version of the Book of the Dead. And it talked about like capacities to leave the body and these kinds of like outer body experiences. And as a kid in high school, I think this is like so cool.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, I want to try that.
I still think it's cool.
Yeah. So like there were just even a couple nights where I just like sat and like kind of just tried what the book was saying. And I didn't even make the connection that this is meditation. Right. I was just like, oh, I'm going to leave my body or whatever. And one night I was meditating and I left my body.
This was still when you were pretty young.
Yeah, that's when I was in high school. I left my body and it wasn't like, when you're sitting, like you're, open my eyes and I'm here. It wasn't like that. I went to a space that was so huge, massive, massive, massive. And I remember like being in this space and then like my consciousness came back and then I realized it's like, whoa, this space is huge. I can feel like the outer space. And I was like, wow, where am I? This is like huge, massive. And then I started to kind of come up further, like I was elevating. And there was another layer that was like a white energy that was even bigger than this space, like even more massive and more powerful. And that's when I got scared. I was like, whoa. And what happened is I'm falling, but it was like mind is falling, unraveling. And I was like experiencing like the mind, but in reverse, coming back. And then I just like hit my body. And yeah, from that day, I was just like, okay, what is this? What was that? And I got into Buddhism, started reading Buddhism, and the teachings just came very natural to me. And it really shaped my life, like how I was looking at the world. And it was pretty intense to where like I had to stop because I was in the matrix. I said, I got to make a career. I got to make some money. I had to survive. But my capacity to understand Buddhism at that time was like, for example, attachment. People understand that concept of attachment as saying you can't own stuff. Don't value these physical things with, a lot. But that's not what it's saying. But that's how I interpreted it. Okay. So I put down Buddhism because there's that like conflict. It wasn't until later in my life when I started ask myself that question is like, okay, what am I going to do with my life? Right? I'm a software engineer, but I'm feeling like this isn't right.
When you were into Buddhism, did you choose the software engineer path or you left Buddhism?
No, actually, my intention was to go into psychology.
Okay.
And get a PhD. And that was my passion, is understanding psychology. But yeah, of course you get sucked in to the system and you're like, okay, where's the money? Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's it was when I started to ask those questions of what am I supposed to be doing with my life, and I couldn't come up with like answers that I was felt right about. I was just coming up with solutions to make more money, right? And I was like, damn, this isn't it. There's people who have money and they're miserable. There's people who have these relationships. They're in marriages, but they feel like they're alone. So it's not going to fill that void. These things are not going to fill those voids. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let me go back to Buddhism, because I know profound things can happen when I'm in meditation and I'm giving myself that space. And I also know that there's another layer of intelligence in me that I'm just, that's in me, that can guide me. And so I just trusted the fact that there was that inner intelligence that was there.
Because you had experienced a level of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is an important mechanism in that spiritual journey, is to have that faith that there is a higher intelligence within yourself.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. And and I hadn't even been trained in the understanding of the healing process. I was, listening to Thich Nhat Hanh about just mindfulness, calming the mind, and there were some things about looking at traumas here and there, but I didn't realize that was such an important tool. But it was in the meditations where I was looking at the difficulties in my own life and then made a connection into experiences that I had had when I was young, and forgiving people that were in my life, that had caused pain, and realizing, oh, this person also had pain. This individual did not go through the process themselves of making these connections, and they're just passing it on from one generation to the next. Like, why am I going to carry this into my own life? And I had to forgive and understand that that's the connection between this difficulty in my life now and in my past. And it was just going through that process that just opened up a state that felt like nirvana.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. So really what you're talking about is one of the first steps as you were leaving this software world and discovering your trauma and clearing the mud and clearing the fog was forgiveness.
Yeah.
And something that, we hear about all the time, and it still can be so elusive, can't it?
Yeah.
So congratulations that you found it.
Yeah.
And then where did it lead you to?
Well, it led me to realizing that that experience, like this experience of self-healing, the meditation, was something worth sharing. And I felt so strongly about it, but I didn't know how to start or what direction to go and how to begin. I thought I was supposed to go be a monk, right? I went to a temple, Buddhist temple, and spoke to the monk. Said, "How I hear you have temples in Thailand and another place near India, and how do I go there?"
Sign me up.
Yeah, he said, "Okay, you need to write a letter and why you want to go, yada yada." But in that process of writing the letter and communicating with him, something was just off. Felt again, it's your intuition is open. You're like, this isn't it. There's something else. And yeah, one night I had a dream. It was weird how I was starting to have this consistent pattern of waking up at 4:00 and some very powerful dream comes, or I wake up and there's this bit of information that is just so profound. And I woke up one night, and the understanding of the power of video just hit me so hard. I was like, there's so much power in video. I was dating a video producer at that time, and I thought it was like about like her. I was just thinking, it was like, wow, she is so lucky. Like, she has this at her fingertips to share a message, and it was so strong. And that's the thing, is like, in working with your intuition, you kind of like realize what's being sent to you. And so that I listened to that and said, "What? Let me sit with this. Like, what is this about video?" And then like just dots started to connect.
Nice.
Like, and I came to the understanding, is like, okay, well, you travel around the world and then videotape wisdom keepers around the world, and just give them your tool so that they can share this message that you feel is important. Let them do it. And so that's what the journey was about, is like leaving everything behind, leaving my career, selling, like renting out my home at that time, everything to serve that.
To serve the connection, really. So
To follow through.
So the whole thing of working to connect with this higher intelligence, the internet, so to speak, and the process that we go through of a level of purification to get there, and then what it asks of us. Indeed. And how it asks that is through what you're saying, you're calling the intuition. These inner messages coming to you from spirit, the voice of spirit. And then you have to follow that. And so what happens when you follow that and you're connecting into this higher intelligence, and did it keep growing? Like, so you step into that, okay, I'm going to do this project. I'm going to make a film. This isn't any trajectory I ever saw myself stepping onto. I'm getting the messages. This is what's coming. And how did actually stepping into that and then doing that inform your healing journey and your spiritual journey?
Yeah. Well, at that point, like, we're always, I don't think the healing journey ever ends, you know, but at that point of the journey, like, it was then about fulfilling Dharma, right? On the spiritual path, there is that last stage, which is doing and fulfilling what it is you're supposed to be doing.
You, this individual
As
person.
an individual.
Yeah.
Right. The spiritual journey leads us onto the path of our Dharma. What it is and how we are supposed to serve the world in a way that brings balance to the outside world as well as the inside world. Right? And so the journey of Dharma comes with those challenges of like having faith from intuition, not the mind, but from right here, and following through and being willing to disconnect from these things that you've attached to and allow yourself to be guided. And what ended up happening was things came into my life that allowed that journey to happen, which the end result is a documentary. And I didn't set out to film a documentary. I was just thinking I was going to film short YouTube videos, 15, 10-minute videos, right, of wisdom keepers. That's all I thought it was going to be. But along the journey, wisdom keepers were coming naturally into my path. And again, like, how does that happen? I had no idea if any wisdom keeper was going to come onto my path. I had no idea how I was going to make that happen. But it lined up. And it was in that journey where there was a tribe in Colombia who I was to go film with, and they wanted a documentary, right? They lived deep in the jungles, the Arhuacos, And then also the Inca master that I work most close with, he said, oh, it would be nice to one day make a documentary. And again, like, I'm like telling my mind is saying, you're not a documentary maker, but my intuition is saying, look into this. Right. And, I had no idea that I can make a documentary.
But somewhere higher intelligence knew that you could.
Yeah, it knows.
And then that connection that you had been working to establish with that is then informing your inside, your intuition, your heart to go for it. And then you establish that connection and you step onto that. What has that brought you? Do you see actually following through on this mandate of sorts from the higher intelligence? Has that helped you on your own spiritual path? How do you see how you've grown spiritually from following the directive?
Yeah. Well, my life has completely changed. I feel like I'm in a path that seems impossible. Like traveling the world like I did. No way. I didn't travel before that. I didn't know that you can actually survive, with these skills around the world. We have, all of us, especially like in developed countries, have incredible skills. Like our capacity to use what we have learned throughout the years in a different way is pretty vast. We think that we're stuck to like one pathway because the system it makes it difficult to move outside those rules and those boundaries,
Constructs, yeah.
But if you just trust, like those tools will be utilized in a different way, and in a capacity that you didn't realize that you wouldn't have envisioned for yourself. Yeah.
Beautiful. So would you say earlier you were talking about moving beyond suffering, the healing path, the spiritual path, that's sort of a goal. Would you say you are a happier person now?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what other benefits can you share with people about, because it takes a lot of courage what you did. So I'm just thinking about, anybody out there watching this podcast right now and putting themselves in your shoes and getting this sense of they're in the matrix, as you say, they're working their career, their goals are according to the matrix, more money, this, that. But they're getting this inquietude, maybe one can say, or this little voice inside, or like you said, the two things that happen, a curiosity or a trauma. And to take that step takes so much courage, Adam. And it's a dare, kind of. It's so just to sort of encourage people that are watching how much it's worth it.
Yeah.
Just to kind of take the leap, so to speak.
It seems difficult, right? But it's difficult when our lens is fogged.
There you go.
That's what makes it difficult. But when we're able to clear that out, you're looking at the world in a different way, and it seems more difficult to go down a path that isn't where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
That becomes difficult. Yeah.
Beautiful. So would you say that's how you understand what it is to navigate with this higher intelligence? Like so we kind of go through this path and we connect with the higher intelligence, be it the internet or God. And then we start getting directive, the information coming in, the connection that changes us. And do you have a sense of what that is for people to understand how to navigate that a little bit?
I would say the formula's in the documentary. Yeah,
Nice.
that's why it's there.
Beautiful.
The pieces, the components that what is being talked about is in that documentary.
It is indeed.
Listening to the heart,
Yeah.
understanding that there's an energy layer, understanding that there's a healing process, and understanding that the spiritual journey brings us into Dharma, right? So understanding those steps.
And say the name of the documentary and what that stands for us. The documentary is called...
It's an acronym for F is find. We're finding a path. O is organizing, which is that process of organizing our energy, our mind, cleaning things out as organizing. And then from that comes understanding. U is understanding love, understanding that everything is one, that we're all connected, understanding, what it is that comes to you after your healing journey. You're going to come to understand the world and yourself in a deeper way. And from there is R, return. It's how to give back to the world.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
It has it all. 4. Okay, and so now that this is out and done and complete, and we had the screening, and yeah, just a brilliant, brilliant film. Beautiful. Congratulations, Adam.
Thank you.
Truly amazing piece of art and gift to humanity for sure. Recommend everyone check it out. We'll give some information about where to find it. And so now that feels complete, and you have a sense of what it has given you as well in your spiritual journey and where it has brought you. Where do you see yourself walking now?
Yeah, the next project is an online educational portal where there's going to be classes for online yoga, online meditation, and online breath work. Okay, so via Zoom, you can watch these instructors. There's also going to be educational stuff, programs that you can watch. Okay, so they're like master classes and things from wisdom keepers around the world. And
do you have a name for this yet? Or?
Right, so it's going to be on monoscape.org.
Okay.
Yeah, and the online gatherings, and also featuring some retreats from around the world that these wisdom keepers are hosting.
Yeah. And it will be some of the same wisdom keepers that are in your film. You will continue working with them as well as new ones.
Correct.
Okay. And tell me about Monoscape. What's that mean? Where does that come from?
It came to me in a meditation.
Nice. I
was like, what does that mean? Monoscape.
Monoscape. I like it.
But it's like, so mono means one.
Yeah.
Like oneness.
Yeah.
And escape, right? So the brand right now is Monoscape Travel Within. So for one to escape, you must travel within. Monoscape.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Any other thoughts you want to share right now? You feel complete?
I appreciate you having me.
Oh, it's such an honor, Adam. Thank you so much. And yeah, your story is so inspirational, and it definitely comes across in the documentary as well. And not just your story, but the actual wisdom technologies that you're bringing out and making really accessible to people. And what a gift that is, and beautiful service to the world. Yeah. So we like these wisdom technologies. They help us along. Yeah. So less suffering, more clarity, more guidance,
Yeah,
all these benefits. Yeah.
absolutely.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So much love.
All right.
Thanks for joining us today for SolSeed Podcast with Adam Donatelli. And his film, again, is called FOR. It's an acronym. So F.O.U.R.
Yeah. You can find
Highly recommend it.
you can find the film at 4documentary.com.
FOR, and with the dots?
Not with the dots.
Okay, just FOR.
Yeah.
For
FOUR.
FOUR.
Documentary.com.
FORdocumentary.com. Thank you.